One of the few non-stock additions I made to my Boxster was a replacement trunk badge. The original Boxster badge was gone when I bought the car because it was broken, as you can see here. I contemplated for a few months whether I even wanted a trunk badge or if I should just leave it blank. And then I saw the Porsche badge for the new Boxsters and I really liked it. I bought mine from Pelican Parts, which of course is my favorite Porsche parts vendor. Full disclosure, you can buy these on Etsy for a lot cheaper, but I've heard mixed reviews on those, that they can crack or the adhesive's not as strong. And I figured I'm just gonna go with OEM. Hopefully I'm not buying this more than once, so why not? You basically have the choice between chrome or matte black. I was leaning toward chrome, and then my friend Kurt pushed me toward the matte black, and he was right. The matte black does look great. It's a little bit trickier job than you would think. I did see there's like these machines you can buy that are hundreds of dollars, that probably for shops that do this all the time. You'd never want to buy that for one-time use. They do make a paper option, sort of a paper template, so that is always an option. During some online research, Kurt found an awesome diagram that we used to get the measurements and placement. We found it on 986forum.com from someone whose username was Particle Wave. So thank you, Mr. Particle Wave, for posting that image. It was very helpful, and the placement of the badge looks perfect. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is clean the trunk area where you will be applying the badge. We used a clay bar and a liquid product shown here, but any clay bar treatment done the correct way will work. After the clay bar, we used isopropyl alcohol just in the section where the badge would attach. Using the diagram as a guide, we first put painter's tape down to get a left to right center mark, and then we measured the distance across the bottom of the trunk edge and marked dead center on that piece of tape, because this is where the S in Porsche will be centered. We trimmed the letters apart, and Kurt decided to cut a notch on the upper right corner just to make sure we had them right side up. For most letters, it wouldn't matter, but with the letter O and H, I guess it could get flipped accidentally. But we're pretty sure they're exactly symmetrical, so honestly, it probably doesn't matter. We laid out the letters with a ruler. Kurt also owns a 1963 Bonneville, and that big hood makes a great workspace. And once we had the letters spaced to the diagram's measurements, we could measure outwards from the center mark on the tape and put more tape to mark the beginning and the end points. And then these three pieces of tape also mark the height where the bottom of the letters will line up. The S in Porsche is 2 inches from the lower trunk edge, and the P and E are actually 1 7/8 inch from the trunk edge. You can see in the diagram, he also mentions 8 inches from the corner is where the P and E should start and end, but we decided not to worry about that because we figured if we're measuring from the inside out, kind of wherever those letters end up is where they're going to be if they're spaced correctly. And then Kurt trimmed those three pieces of tape just to make it a little easier when setting this curve with the tape that would be overlaid as our curve line. So what makes this diagram so valuable is there's actually that subtle curve of the letters, but it doesn't match the curve of the trunk. And the diagram points this out, but that makes a huge difference in how it looks when you're finished. So the next step was to use another piece of tape to set that curve as a guide. Even though the tape has a straight edge, it's such a subtle curve, you can totally manipulate the tape to make that curve and still have a good edge to guide you. Here's a shot where you can see the difference of the straight line versus the curve. Next step was to start putting on the letters. We started with the center S first, and then we worked outwards from there, which kind of makes it dummy proof. Funny enough, the 1-inch masking tape we were using was actually 7/8 of an inch, which is exactly what the diagram showed for letter spacing. So that made it really easy for laying down the letters. Okay, pro tip. This is the part of the project where your brain completely forgets how to spell the word Porsche. I don't know why, but check yourself like 3 times. I even Googled it just to make sure. For some reason, both of our brains broke and we were like, how do you spell Porsche? As we were placing the letters, we didn't press them down fully until they were all placed and the tape was removed, just in case we screwed up and had to move them because the adhesive on these letters is really sticky. And then when we were all finished, we did use a little wax in the area where we had used the isopropyl alcohol, but obviously being careful not to get it on the new lettering. And then you want to wait a few days before you wash your car or really get it wet. You want those letters to really adhere to to the trunk, and it looked great. So thank you to that gentleman who put that diagram online. It really helped us a ton. I'm really glad I went with the Porsche badge versus the Boxster badge. It just adds a little bit of a personal touch to my vehicle. I was telling Kurt, the Renline grills I put in front of the radiators, the aftermarket top with the glass window that it came with, and now this badge. They're like three subtle things that aren't original but make it, unique to my car. But if you didn't know anything about these cars, it looks completely original. So I think it's great. It's a personal touch, and I really think it turned out perfect.